All right, well, welcome to Schaefferstown, Pennsylvania. This is in Lebanon County, and I was going to visit a park just down the south end of town. So a little bit of cool history to it, but they're doing a bunch of tree trimming down there right next to the park. In fact, you can probably hear, you might be able to hear even from here, they got one of those big chipper shredders and they're throwing the branches in there, so. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway, so plan B, because I was kind of planning on visiting this cemetery here anyway. This is the Schaefferstown Cemetery. With all cemeteries, there's a little bit of history here, which we'll talk about in a moment. I'm going to talk about some other things too. I got some complaints about my cemetery videos. Not by most of you. 90-some% of people like these videos, but I just want to address a comment or two that came up that was kind of annoying, in a way, and ignorant to an extent. So, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a bit. All right. So, the cemetery here sprawls for quite a distance. And what's interesting about this cemetery is that all the churches in town use this same cemetery. The cemetery was divided up into sections, a section for each church in town. Because if you look on the maps, none of the churches in town have their own cemetery behind the churches, which is the way it usually is. Usually where there's a church, there's a cemetery right near that church. But here, land was purchased back in the 1700s, and all the churches had their own little area that they used for burial. So there's the Reformed section, there's the Evangelical section, there's the Methodist section, I guess. Anyway, every church had their own burial grounds here, so it's kind of interesting. I'm in the oldest section. That's why I like the oldest section. So this is the Reformed and Lutheran section. So this Schaefferstown dates back to 1758. So there's some history here. So let's have a look around, see what all we can find. Of course, as always, I love to find the war veterans, Revolutionary War veterans. Here we have Johannes Dillman. Of course, Johannes is just a German name for Jonathan. If I remember correct, I learned from my mom, Geboren means born, so born April of 1748, died in 1823. Of course, I'm pretty sure this is his wife over here, Margaret. And here is some interesting history, which I was hoping we would find, because he's a Revolutionary War veteran. But this is Alexander Schaeffer. We're in Schaefferstown, so he is the founder of Schaefferstown. Born in Germany in 1712, migrated to America 1738, died in 1786. So yeah, in 1758, Schaeffer and his wife Anna purchased the land surrounding Schaefferstown, formerly Heidelberg, laid out the town and sold lots to the squatters who already had homes here. Oh yeah, in 1763 sold land in the spring, now Fountain Park. That's where I wanted to go originally, Fountain Park, along with the pipes and troughs of the gravity water system. To representatives of the people of Market Street, this act created the water company, which later became the first chartered waterworks in the United States. So that's where I'm hoping to go later today, that park. It's a good old Alexander Schaeffer. Here's the front of his tombstone. And there's his little plaque for the Revolutionary War. Get some more Revolutionary War veterans. And I love the different styles. Like, you go from more of the plain ones, then you get to this interesting one. I guess that's supposed to be an angel at the top. And then you get those ones that have like the skull and crossbones at the bottom. You can barely make out the skull down there, because they're all written in German. I do see 1756 on there. Looks like a 1769. And you got one over here that's buried in the ground quite a bit. It says 1775 at the top. Just a whole wide range. Here's a plaque over here. What does this say? Oh, this is a Civil War veteran. Grand Army of the Republic. it's one of these guys here, because it's very difficult to make these out, some of them. So here's another decorative one. A little bit of different writing. I do see a 1777 there, but then you got the skull and crossbones. Kind of a crudely carved one, but you know, you don't see tombstones like these days anymore. Just kind of have character. I've asked people before what those mean. I guess it's just, I don't know, people give me different opinions. But gotta love those old styles. There's one leaning on the back of it here. It says 1777 at the top. Yeah. Oldie over here too. Let's check this out. Oh wow, this one's pretty beat up too. I do see a 1777 down there as well. Looks like I do see a, it says Gaborum, that means born. Got the church bells going off down there. That's it. You can hear that chainsaw down in the park. I guess you can hear it on the microphone there, but here's a more modern memorial plaque. Descendants of Johannes Wolfersberger. It's got some older dates on there, 1694 and 1697. You know I love to find these older dates. But I mentioned with a lot of these old graveyards, you know, in these empty places, like through here, you see a lot of empty stuff in here. There are actually people buried in here. They just don't have grave markers. Well, they probably did at one time, but they may have just been, you know, wooden markers and stuff, and they've long ago deteriorated. Let's see what else we can find. I do see a number of more Revolutionary War soldiers, so we'll keep looking around. I do love the old cedar trees in these graveyards as well. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I do want to take a moment here to address some comments that I received about my morbid curiosity of these graveyards and that I'm desecrating the graves by coming here and visiting these cemeteries. Actually, desecrating is farthest thing from the truth. When you come to visit these places, you're not desecrating anything by walking around and remembering these people. You know, desecrating a grave is, you know, knocking a tombstone over, digging the bodies up, and doing kind of stuff like that. This is just, I mean, this is in some small way honoring the memory of these people and their history. As far as being a morbid curiosity, it is curiosity. I love history. I'm a history nerd. But there is so much history and, you know, character in these old cemeteries. That's why I visit them. There's nothing morbid about it. It's not a fascination with death or anything like that. So, I don't remember who you were, but whatever, dude. So, I mean, granted, some people don't like my cemetery videos, but I love coming to these old places and exploring them, and I'm gonna keep doing so. So, all right, just wanted to briefly address that. I just wanted to point out the design of this tombstone. I've never seen one like this with a star. Almost looks like little screws over there, screw heads. Never seen one like this, but he's a Revolutionary War veteran. Looks like Martin Ulrich. Here's a better, less worn out example of one of those tombstones. It looks like a George Ulrich. Yeah, it has just a neat designs to it there. Sorry if I feel a little snuffly. I'm getting over a head cold, so my nose is still running. I'm a little stuffed up. Another Revolutionary War veteran. I don't think I can make out. This is pretty worn, pretty smooth. Yeah, an old cemetery with old trees. Yeah, here's another one with that interesting design I mentioned. Because it's almost like, see, I mentioned like there's the screw heads, and then there's two down here, so it's almost like they're making it look like they're screwing like a plaque onto this tombstone. I guess it's what it meant to look like, but it's kind of interesting. Looks like Wilhelm Heilman or Hellman. (1823), 1826. Then you have some of these that are kind of raised above the ground, almost like a, what do you call it, a crypt? Looks like you got a Samuel Rex and his wife over here, Mariana Rex. Yeah, I'm not even gonna attempt to read all this. It's pretty worn. And there's no way I'm gonna visit the whole cemetery. There's a lot more modern stuff off in the distance, and this is just part of the cemetery. It extends all the way across the road, over the hill there. And nowadays they don't bury people by, you know, church plot. You know, the whole cemetery is just one cemetery now, so it doesn't really matter what church you went to. You get buried in whatever plots are available. Oh, we got the church bells again. And some traffic. Alright, well, the church is still playing music, but I'm gonna walk up into the newer section. There's a statue up there I want to check out. It looks like a pretty neat grave marker up there. Just want to check that one out. There she is. This is actually kind of interesting because this is the family plot for the Bittner family. Daniel Bittner and his wife Sarah Bittner. But some time ago, I did a video on an Augusta Bittner who died. She was murdered, actually. And the cemetery where she's at is supposedly haunted. And she has a statue there as well. Looks almost like this one a little bit, so that's kind of interesting. Another Bittner statue. Actually, I forget if she was murdered or not. Actually, I think she was, if I remember correctly. I've been to too many cemeteries. But it's a neat little statue there. It's actually pretty big. I'll give you some perspective of it in a moment. Alright, so just a quick little visit to this interesting little cemetery. Well, it's not a little cemetery, it's a pretty big one. So got the church playing off there in the background. But I will come back and visit that park down there later. I'm gonna go try to check out several other places that I'm out and about here. This is a Monday afternoon. What is the January 27th? Oh yeah, January's soon over. Getting into February, so looking forward to spring. But anyway, thanks for coming along. I enjoy just kind of, like I said, walking around these old cemeteries, looking at the history and stuff. Because I'm always looking for those really old tombstones or unique ones. We found some today. Alright, as always, thanks for coming along with me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you around. A little bit later today, actually.